CFL. Let them know.
Welcome to Saturdays in Canada, and it is Canada Day weekend. The two countries celebrate kind of their births 3 or 4 days apart, Wes.
They do, and it's a cool weekend because for me, paying so much attention to the sport north of the border, it extends the 4th of July festivities. We have Canada Day also.
And again, I could be biased. I really love, we're sponsored by Championship Footballs. And you know what? I was looking at the Kansas City football that I'm putting in the box for you. And it's just really, it's a pretty football. Part of it is the color, the logo for the Super Bowl this year was kind of a unique pride kind of look to it. But I feel the same way about our intro. I love that intro with the O Canada. And of course, we get to hear it. If you're watching the streams now, the streams are easy to get, right? If it's not on TV down here, it's on CFL Plus. You don't even have to pay for it; it's free.
It is, and it's pretty easy. You put your email address, and I tell you, they're not sending spam or anything like that. But I mean, honestly, you want the information if they're sending it about the games, and we don't get as much information on
it's
CFL.
It's very difficult. So here's what I do. As you know, I do the Easy Sports data, and I'm still looking at all of last year. So here's what I do. And I ask the computer, I say to the computer, Mr. Computer, give me all their games from last year and whatever they played this year overall. But give me their last 2 years and this year for home or away because it's less games. And it really allows me to get a good feel. But as you know, because we've been talking, it's the third year of the data, but really the second year that we've been betting on it. It is pretty consistent. It's not like, I think it's because there's just so few teams, right? We have the outliers in any, chart. You got the guys on one end and the guys on the other end, and most of the stuff's in the middle. We talk about the NFL. It's 9-7, 7-9 in the old days, so it's probably 10-7, 7-10 now, and everybody's in between there, But with the CFL, what we're doing is we're finding that this stuff works, and it allows you to just cash more tickets. That's really all it is.
It does. And injuries play a factor, and we're getting into some of that stuff too, where you got to be careful not to over or undervalue some of the injuries that teams have going on.
All right, so let's do this. Let's start with last week. We always like to start with last week, and I say that like it's only been a couple weeks we're doing it, but I like it, and we're going to continue to do it because, Wes, you've heard it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
That's true.
Now, when you tell someone, and I said this and I meant it from the bottom of my heart, we have the best CFL podcast, best CFL show, period, in Southern California. Now, I know it was a stretch because there's probably nobody else in the competition. But if I said to you, we have a podcast that gives you 3 winners for every losers, what would you say? You probably wouldn't believe us, right?
Even if you don't like the two of us or want nothing to do with the words coming out of our mouths, you're going 3-1 by following up on the advice we're given. So,
and if you listen, you're doing better because you know what? I gotta think I'm like 7-2 in the last 9 second halves I bet in Canadian football. And I wanted to thank you because I had a special evening with Vicky and I was not able to watch the game. I was able to kind of keep track, and thank God the margaritas were flowing. We were doing some shots because the bathroom breaks, of course, are more frequent. There's a ratio of bathroom breaks to a female in my demographic for the margaritas you take. It's pretty easy math. For every margarita, you got to make 1.3 trips to the bathroom. So I didn't have time to get the stream. I was just actually going to play-by-play. I like watching. If I can't watch it live, I like watching play-by-play because that is a great way to find an opportunity, for that live action.
The adjustment for the live action. So the live action has far better availability, but the adjustment is slower than it is in a college football or an NBA or in a NFL even. The delay is not there. I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like what we're seeing is actually happening, and the odds and the lines are not adjusting
Well,
the
the
same,
markets that
right?
we're in, it is not on the radar in terms of volume that it's getting, in terms of
No.
wagers. We know that, especially, if you're on offshore and you're in Costa Rica, you know what? Where does CFL rank behind all the soccer that's out there, But let's see what happened last week.
Betting against Winnipeg, and so I'm going to lay the 6. They are at home.
That's it. I mean, you said it. We're not going to make a living betting against Winnipeg. Do you know when the last time in the Easy Sports data Winnipeg only had one digit in their score?
Probably prior to us doing the show. So possibly never.
Never. That's the judges gave it to you. Ding, ding, ding. Never. So, you know what? What you could look, here's the way I look at it. The week before we lost on the fourth game, that cost me 4-teamers. This cost me 4-teamers too, but technically, when you lose the first leg of a 4-teamer, it allows you to come back and get the 3-teamer. And sometimes if you're betting to sweep the board, and you know what? Sweeping the board for us, it's just a matter of when, not if. And I have, I had a 5-teamer 2 weeks ago. I cashed out every week. You know me. I'm a unique bettor. I like my money. I don't like it to be in Costa Rica. Maybe I'm discriminating. I don't know, but I like my money to be my money. And then, of course, you got me. We cashed out. I got on that heater. And I didn't take the money out because it was in Bitcoin. And I picked up another. What did I end up getting? 20%, I think. I picked up 20% on my winnings because I just got lucky. And then it flatlined at what, 31, short of 31, like 30,500.
Yeah.
And it flatlined there, and I said, you know what? I got enough. I'm covering John's bets. I'm betting Wes's bets. I got a bet what Paulo gives me. Jonathan from San Antonio throws me baseball plays. I can't be worrying about Bitcoin too. It's just too much on me.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what I'm thinking. It's a positive because what do we know? That's shaving 2, 3, maybe 4 points that we're not going to have to lay now going forward over the next 2, 3 weeks with Winnipeg, right?
Well, yes and no. And I'll tell you what I learned about this game is now we can put 3 weeks together with Winnipeg, and this Winnipeg team is allowing points. They allowed 49 to BC. They allowed over 30 to Hamilton in the first week. And the week before this, God, you're gonna have to refresh my memory. But
you know what my notes have is everyone going to put up 27 or more on them. That's what I've asked because that's what it's been after 3 games.
So I think we have some consistency there that Winnipeg will allow points. And what happened this game against BC is they put up points faster. And then the BC defense showed up. And while the BC defense is putting up points, and it's really easy to say it's VA, they haven't been at full strength at receiver this whole season. They were without Whitehead. They were without Rhymes. I think Rhymes is listed doubtful going into this game. So new starting running back, but their defense is showing up. This Winnipeg team, they have not been at full strength on defense either, and it's showing. It is showing. Jefferson barely saw the field, if even he did this past game. And Jeff Coates been out. And you're talking about 2 of the best defensive players in the CFL, possibly future Hall of Famers, that aren't on the field. So this game, big surprise, but 15 times we win this game. 15 times.
Well, and I think this is one of those losses I had in the second half because I just assumed they were going to cover the second half. They were down 17-6. I don't know. I didn't do a team total over second half. If I had one, I would have, and I would have lost that too because I didn't have it. But then things got a little better.
I typically will go, quarter unit on money line, and then find a live action play for 3/4 of a unit that'll balance the whole thing out. But I'm going to touch some money line, and I'm going to take it's 1 or 2.5, depending on where you got it.
Yep, and that was a game that was really weird because it looked at first like it wasn't going to be the BC or the Montreal team we thought we were going to see, but then they just took over the game, literally took over the game.
They did, and Austin Mack was a great receiver at Ohio State, but he was behind two all-time greats. He was behind Olave and Garrett Wilson. So he didn't get the looks, and he couldn't make an NFL team. But it's no surprise to me as a diehard Buckeye fan that this guy is showing up at receiver. Cody Fajardo would have changed his scenery. He had some inconsistencies last year, and Hamilton struggles to score points, and they really don't have an answer at the quarterback position. So them being a favorite in this game, that just felt wrong.
And that really did help. That helped the weekend to get over that it was a tough loss. I'm not going to lie, because you know what? It really is like when you're betting New England in the day and they lost in the second half. It's like, wow, what the hell just happened?
Well, the first one and the last one of the week can hurt you in different ways. The first one of the week messes with your mind. Is it, well, we're just going to win the rest of them, we're cool, clean sweep? Or is it, whoa, do we need to now watch ourselves? Are we tilting in the opposite direction? It wouldn't be unreasonable for us to come out and have a
3 weeks in, anything could happen. It just happened to work out well for us.
All road teams that I like. But I have to take the points in this scenario. I like Sask's resilience. They're not looking terrible on defense. Trevor Harris, it actually looks like he's providing some form of leadership on those sidelines.
That game, for me personally, was like boring, all right? And then I think I texted you, holy cow, I forget how I cutely wrote it, but basically a game broke out in the second half.
Mm-hmm. At times, not all of them, but at times, the final 3 minutes, that 3-minute warning in a CFL game, can be compared to only one other sports scenario, which is NHL playoff overtime. It was either 9 or 11 point deficit with very short amount of time on the clock, and Calgary came back, forced the overtime, and the overtime in the CFL is great, but because it's 2 and out, not 3 and out, and the clock stop. I don't know if you caught that or if you see that in games, but the clock stoppage works very different in the CFL than it does in the NFL. When the ball is dead, they bring everybody to the line of scrimmage. They stop the clock. Then they bring it to the line of scrimmage, and when everybody's lined up, they start the clock. So it doesn't function the same way as the NFL, where there's 2 seconds left and he goes down and they got to scramble and they don't really get it.
I think if you remember, it was Father's Day and I got to watch it on the big TV. So I was watching it and I was explaining to him, you know what? There's 3 minutes left in the game. In an NFL game, that could be 1 possession, maybe 2. And this it could be 4 or 5, and they could have 3 scores. And that's pretty much what they did that game.
You're only killing 40 seconds if you take a knee. And
but did you see at the end of this game, when Sask was going in to take the lead, the guy called timeout. The coach called timeout.
He did.
And I thought, this is the stupidest thing in the world. Why is he doing that? And I had to sweat through it. No, it didn't matter, right? Because they won. But if they lost in overtime, we would have a different attitude, because I probably wouldn't have cashed out this week.
Yeah, the brothers coaching against each other, they've been playing chess since they were in diapers against one another. So there's a different pride and chess match going on.
Well, yeah, we've seen that anytime brothers are on the opposite sidelines. And then finally, again, it was a nice weekend.
I think that they just intercepted a far better quality quarterback last week than what Edmonton even has on their roster. So I think we're going to see at least 1 to 3, at least 1 interception, probably 2, because that's who Toronto is. And I think laying the points 6.5 on the road, there is no home field advantage. Edmonton, those fans are dying for a winner, and they're so upset they don't have one.
All right, so this game was a second half bonanza, because it ended up being Toronto came back and they didn't cover the first half, right?
They covered the first half. They covered the first half, and they. Oh no!
I was given 1.5, I think, right? Yeah,
they didn't cover. I think it was a 1 point lead. They covered the over in the first half, which was 12.5.
Yeah,
but. Toronto didn't seem to want to win this one early, but this is an odd one because there was a lot of flags that went against Toronto. There was a lot of non-Toronto style just foolishness that cost them yards. And Edmonton, don't be fooled by the score here. Edmonton scored points on defense. So to me, those are just great plays. That is not Now, if they happen this week and the following week, well, then
Yeah, if
maybe
you're a
that's
team,
different.
they're Edmonton, for heaven's sakes. They're
They're-
Edmonton. Remember, we discussed Edmonton. If your keyboard, the W is broken on your keyboard, and you're doing data for Edmonton, don't worry about it. You're good. All right?
And in the end, I mean, it was probably a couple minutes into the third quarter. They found a way to elk, and the Argos handled their business. The Argos at home is a very strong stat. This one was on the road, but your data probably shows the Argos at home, regardless if they're supposed to win or not, is very strong.
Yeah, well, what we're going to do right now is we're going to look. We got only 3 games because it's Canada Day, and what we're going to do is go out, listen to a little bit of prop swap talk, because right about I don't know, I think you went in. You told me you went in early, then you went in again later. So I'm going to start paying attention to those futures for the Grey Cup, and of course, Championship Football's our sponsor. You may not know this, but the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl. You're listening to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel. With thousands of buyers across the country, you'll always get the most amount of money for your bet on PropSwap. So hurry to PropSwap while it's early and grab a ticket or 2. The odds are always the highest right now. It really does pay to get in early. Go to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app today. PropSwap is where America buys and sells sports bets. Your Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. Here's the coolest present any Chiefs fan will open that day guaranteed. These full-size, NFL licensed, full-color souvenir footballs celebrate all 3 of Kansas City's Super Bowl titles. The top panel of these limited edition footballs has logos and scores from the first 2 championships with all the game information from the Super Bowl 57 win. The second side has the score from every regular season and playoff game. These footballs make an incredible gift for your favorite Kansas City Chiefs fan, even if it's you. ChampionshipFootballs.com, the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West on Canada Day weekend. Canada Day and the 4th of July are a pretty cool time again for me. Remember, I've had 4th of July's, Wes, where I had to bet baseball. All right, we're sitting around drinking. I'm eating some of my Wana gummies, and the Wana gummies are perfect for the pool. Remember, I didn't have any until I went to Vegas, and I got them in Vegas, but they're a special product. But that was it. It was baseball. And let me tell you, maybe if you got a 20 or 25, things on your number of cannabis, and you may not want to watch baseball because you fall asleep. It really is. You don't fall asleep watching the CFL. All right, but we've got Edmonton at Ottawa. It's 42.5 minus 3.5. I've got some notes. Let's see what you say.
So, Edmonton didn't look terrible against Toronto this past week. The truth be told, outside of that BC blowout, they haven't looked terrible. I mean, they had a chance to win the first game of the season. But so this goes one of 2 ways. Do they come out angry after a loss? I don't know. They've had plenty of time to show us if they're capable of doing that in the past year. Or was that just a demoralizing type of loss? Where I struggle with this game. So Ottawa is at home. That's a great stadium. And Ottawa is also coming off a bye. Ottawa has struggled on offense, but their defense is pretty sound for the opponents they've played and the points that have been allowed. So I know Ottawa is going to show up on defense. The only question is the Ottawa offense and then laying 3.5. Can they even put up enough points to lay 3.5? Edmonton was able to manufacture some points on their defense against Toronto. And that was impressive because Toronto was running this really up-tempo Oregon Ducks style, 2012 looking offense. But when it's all said and done, I got to take the fresh team coming off a bye, going against the worst team and the biggest mush we know. So I'm going to lay the 3.5. There was some line movement on this one too. Earlier today, it was 3.5, but Edmonton was minus 120 and Ottawa was even money. And when I see that, that's almost like the book is begging us to lay money on Ottawa, almost like they're more comfortable It's almost like they're scared that Edmonton's actually going to win it. So I was nervous for what that line movement meant, but we're at minus 110 on both sides now. So somebody laid some money and even that thing up. We're going to lay 3.5 and take Ottawa.
So here's what I look at Ottawa and I say to myself, how do you bet on a team that has lost against the spread 10 straight at home and is 2-15 against the spread since we started? Well, it's Edmonton.
It's Edmonton.
That's the end. So, you know what? As you know, I bet your bets, but I had my notes that, you know what, this game is screaming under. It's just screaming under. It looks like this is going to be two teams. Now, if you look at Ottawa in the second half, if you bet against Ottawa and the under, you've hit 5 straight parlays. And I'm going to talk about a lot of this going forward, because now that the data is going to be 3, 4, 5 weeks, and by the time 5 weeks rolls around, I might not even look at last year's data. I'll do maybe for some head-to-head stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is, when we could hop on those parlays, 4 or 5 weeks in a row at plus 260, golly gee, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so the next game, it's Canada Day. We get to take a break. We get to go, here's more about our sponsor. Championship Football's here on Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West on the Sports Betting Channel. You're getting a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football from ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. How hard is it to find the right gift for someone that already has everything? Whether that special present is for a Georgia Bulldogs fan or a member of the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom. Maybe your grandfather has been a Dallas Cowboy fan as long as you've been alive. Does your brother-in-law live in Penn State territory? Do you know a member of the University of Baylor Alumni Association? Is there a better birthday gift for someone who's 100% all Tulane Green Wave? Send them the coolest present. They'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Jacksonville Jaguars or those Minnesota Vikings, we're sorry about that. If you are a Louisiana Monroe Warhawk or an East Carolina Pirate alumni, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't You Had a Pretty Good Season Footballs.com. The name is ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada here on the Sports Betting Channel, sponsored by ChampionshipFootballs.com with Black Hawk West. Wes, we got the second game of I guess a 3-team weekend. Even though, you know what, I have been known to find a way to make a 5 and 6 team parlay with only 3 games on the board, just so you know. And I'm telling you, I mentioned to you about the round robins, and I know you do them a lot too, but I'm really enjoying that whole, when that first team wins on a round robin, you get a whole 24 hours to enjoy the fact that each of these games is now a straight bet for you. And golly gee, if you get into the last one, you could even look, if you're a big enough bettor, you could look at hedging and getting your money back. And if I have $50 to win 400, I will bet $50 the other way all day long, because then I got to say, I bet for free this weekend. But we got,
we've been getting really reasonable team total overs in these games if you pick the right ones.
And of course, that is the key. And if you don't really know which ones are the right ones, then you're kind of missing the whole concept of sportsbettingweeklylive.com. Will always show you the very last show. So you can go there now and watch. This is the 4th week, so you can watch the first 3 weeks and see that we kind of know what we're doing a little bit anyway. All right, so we got this is
75% of the time we know.
Yes, that's true. So this is July 1st, Saturday. This is Canada Day. So they play on Canada Day, but they don't play the day after, and then they play again Monday. We got Monday night football.
Yeah, so you've heard me say it before. I said it last week, and it bit us. You're not going to make a living betting against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Now I'm going to talk out of the other side of my mouth, because this is not what we saw last week, and the amount of points being allowed. It's some of the worst points allowed in the entire CFL now, and that's on offense and that's total, or I'm sorry, that's on defense and total. So the way they sit right now, I will get better injury updates as we get closer to kickoff. But Willie Jefferson, Jackson Jeffcoat, I need to know more about that defense and what's going to happen. I also on offense. They have a suspension in the best wide receiver in this league, in my opinion, in Kenny Lawler. So,
and that's 6 weeks.
Well, his suspension is undisclosed. There's the 6 week IR that takes place. So there's going to be some players that come back to all the teams on week 6. So we're 2 weeks away from that. Kenny Lawler's a suspension for some illegal activity. It was egregious enough for him to have a suspension, but he's not going to miss the season. But I don't think Winnipeg is going to tank. O'Shea's not tanking, but at the same time, they have a lot to look forward to and a lot of momentum that they could catch in a few weeks.
I have to interrupt you. It is now 20 after the hour.
I love that number.
It is 4:20, and what did we say? Oh, I already mentioned the whole WANA thing, but I just love the fact that it's 4:20 in London. It's London's the Queen, and that's Canada Day. That's what it is. All these provinces got together, and they're going to stay under the Queen. They loved the Queen. My golly, gee. When she went, Canada was in mourning. But I love it. I love it. Okay, we're good. Winnipeg.
So in this game, I don't think Winnipeg's investable here after the performance they just put up, because they showed they're capable of not scoring points and allowing points. We're getting the right Cody. We got a hot up-and-coming wide receiver in Montreal. Montreal is going to put up points on this defense. That's for sure. Not at the same rate that BC did. Montreal's defense is what I'm questioning here. So, and I think Winnipeg is going to perform. I'm not saying Montreal is going to blow them out, but in a scenario like this, we got to take the points. Winnipeg very well may win, but I'm comfortable taking the points. Montreal at home, Winnipeg off of a beatdown, questionable roster on defense. Winnipeg is not fully dethroned on that elite as far as I'm concerned, but we can't invest in them after what we've seen.
Let me ask you a question. I don't care who you are. You're a human being. You got emotions, and you got to be sitting there shocked that you only scored 6 points, right? You got to be in shock of some sort.
I would not lay anything more than 2.5 on Winnipeg in this game. So I have to be on the 6. I like Montreal. I like the way they performed.
All right, so here's some stats for you. Montreal has allowed fewer points in 6 straight second half games. Now, I do realize some of those were last year, but work with me on this one. In their last 11 second halves, they are 9-2 against the spread. I am looking for this second half to have more points than I think the first half will. So I am looking at coming up with an open parlay. I can do open parlay, so I can put a 4-teamer in for Friday's game. It'll be a 3-teamer this week, of course, and open it with 2 second halves, and I'm going to do that. So I'm trying to pick, because 3 is a lot easier than 4. We all know, first of all, you don't get screwed as much on the odds, right? The odds of 3 should be 8. They pay you 6. The odds of 4 should be, 16, and they pay you 10. So it gets worse as it gets harder, which it shouldn't be the thing. But 9-2 against the spread in the second half. You know how I feel about the second half, Wes? That's one championship.
Well, when these guys are closing out games, I mean, Montreal has not played the stiffest of competition, but they are closing out games when they have a lead. And again, it's not the teams. I'm playing the number. I want the 6 points here, and I think that we probably only have a very small window this week, maybe one more week to get these long spreads.
So let's ask about that, because I mentioned earlier, what would this spread be if they won over BC 30-6? It'd be 9.5.
I don't know. I don't think anybody is. I don't think any odds maker is gonna call Cody Fajardo a 9.5 point dog. I think it would probably be 6.5. But our comfort level would change. If Winnipeg wasn't allowing the points they are, I'd be totally comfortable to take Winnipeg and lay the 6. I'm not saying Winnipeg loses this game, although I think Montreal could beat them.
Yeah, they have given up 88 points in the first 3 games of the year, and that is not Grey Cup material.
Yeah. So if we get a close one here, we're going to see some short Winnipeg spreads and really good opportunity in the weeks to come when they start to get healthy. These close games, we might be seeing Winnipeg -1, -2.5. Those are better numbers, but +6 against Montreal, that's demonstrated nothing but great play. That's unjustified.
Okay, so when we come back, I would remind you, if you can find Wanagummies in your local dispensary and you got a pool party to go to the 4th of July, you can thank me later. And don't forget to join our 420. There was a 420 opportunity when I was at dinner. I couldn't do the screenshot of it. I was on my best behavior. All right, when we come back, you're listening to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel.
In a world where most cannabis gummies are hashy, melty, or just plain gross, one brand will rise up to forever change what an edible can be. Vegan and gluten-free ingredients, 30-plus terpenes, and a melt-proof recipe star in Wana. Not all edibles are created equal. Now in theaters. Dispensaries.
You're getting a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football from ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. How hard is it to find the right gift for someone that already has everything? Whether that special present is for a Georgia Bulldogs fan or a member of the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom. Maybe your grandfather has been a Dallas Cowboy fan as long as you've been alive. Does your brother-in-law live in Penn State territory? Do you know a member of the University of Baylor Alumni Association? Is there a better birthday gift for someone who's 100% all Tulane Green Wave? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Jacksonville Jaguars or those Minnesota Vikings, we're sorry about that. If you are a Louisiana Monroe Warhawk or an East Carolina Pirate alumni, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't "You Had a Pretty Good Season" footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel, sponsored by ChampionshipFootballs.com, and it is the final Monday Night Football. It'll be our first Monday Night Football in a while, and our last Monday Night Football for a while, I would imagine. I know that, you know what? When will we get Monday Night Football? Labor Day, right? We won't have any games on Monday. Do the CFL have anything crazy? Because they're pretty much Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah, and sometimes they skip one of them. Let's see. I have the schedule in front of me right now. We get 2 games on Saturday in week 6, which that's Saturday, July 15th. That's a cool one. So, but yeah, we stay Saturday, Sunday. We stay Thursday, Friday.
That's the other thing, Wes. And if you're catching this show, understand how in sync we're going to be with CFL football right when college football, and you have no clue in the beginning of college football, and the NFL, it takes 2, 3, 4 weeks in the NFL. Don't get me wrong. Can you start off great? Yes, you can. But as you know, to really get a feel for those teams takes a little bit of time. The CFL money is going to just cover us. It's going to fill our coffers.
Well, and that's the strategy every year. And what's cool about, you mentioned college football, opening weekend of college football. I mean, I'm talking about opening weekend, not the prior week, the week 0.
Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, so there's CFL is Saturday, Sunday that week, but then Labor Day, and it's pretty traditional. We get 2 CFL games on Monday. Yeah. So and normally there's a college game, but we'll get 2 Monday games come September, and then we move into the Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and so we got the last game of the week, and like I said,
I thank you, Jesus. I thank you, Jesus.
That was so cool. I mean, first of all, the way it started, Toronto scored the first 18 points of the second half. So I have Toronto on the over, and it's sitting at 18 pretty early in the third. I'm thinking this is sweet. And then of course Edmonton kind of made it a scare, but they never threatened. And then I guess you had told me they had a strip sack or something, and
Yeah.
I think that was right about when the fajitas came. So the fajitas, they make the noise. The last thing you want to do is not be in the picture.
That was the real game changer. Was there was a strip sack on the goal line before the Edmonton player could cross the line, and Toronto got it, and they had a fairly nice return. They didn't take it 110, but they got it out of the voluntary safety zone, and they put themselves in position. They left points on the board, so that was a big turning point in the game for me. Looking at this one, so.
Yeah, 46.5 and +1. And again, Toronto, we went from they were a bye till we lost on them, and now we're betting them again.
Yeah, and last week, the lines moved a little bit on it, but BC just beat Winnipeg. I mean, throttled them in the toughest stadium in the CFL to play, in my opinion. I mean, huge game. And Toronto's at home. So this game, Toronto really performed poorly. Toronto gave up some penalty yards that they shouldn't have given up. But then there were moments where they actually looked like Toronto, and they still put up a lot of points. They played terrible for a good amount of the game. But what they showed on offense, that I keep tying it back to the 2012 Oregon Ducks, because they just they got a real banger at running back, and they get 5 yards, and then they go into up tempo, and Chad Kelly, coming from the SEC, is the perfect guy to be running it. He's not making a tremendous amount of mistakes, and he's mobile, and will keep him honest. BC has got their second game in a row on the road at a tough stadium, and the +2. I'm taking Toronto here, and I'm taking Toronto to beat them outright. I think BC hung a lot of points on a suspect Winnipeg defense. We stated that earlier. I'm not going to beat up Winnipeg because they've made us a lot of money. BC is a great team. Thus far, they're probably the best team in this young CFL season. But 2 games in a row, 2 huge games in a row against the former Grey Cup teams. That's a lot to get them up for. And Toronto, I will say it, last year, Toronto was the #1 intercepting defense in the entire CFL with 29 interceptions. So now they're going up against a quarterback that they're going to have to put up points the way that Toronto is able to move the ball down the field at that tempo. And that's something that this BC defense has not seen before. So I like Toronto in this spot. I'm going to take the points.
All right, so one of the things I noticed with this is we're starting to get a feel for, there's 3 or 4 of these quarterbacks that are pretty good, and that's about it, right? Out of 9, there's like 3 or 4 that are pretty good. So guess what? Could you imagine a sport of the 3 main footballs that we cover, which are American football collegiate, American football professional, and the CFL? The CFL is more quarterback driven than any of them because it feels bigger and wider, and there's more people and stuff. But Adams versus Kelly, it becomes we're going to have games down the road that are going to be similar to in the NFL when Burrow plays Mahomes and that kind of stuff. Now, I realize it's the CFL, so I don't get all bent out of shape. But I'm talking about 4 of those 9 positions, 9 quarterbacks in the league. We're going to start to see, and then that's going to be a big deal because those guys, they don't know, right? Yeah. They don't know who beat you and who you beat.
Well, and these 2 in their positions in the rosters, they're something of the future. I probably don't want to say it's Mahomes Burrow, but it's something along those lines. What it feels right now, they're both playing really well, and we got 3 teams in the CFL. Ottawa, Hamilton, and Edmonton have not even a whiff of the quarterback position being under control. The rest of them are either there or, up and coming. And these 2 teams fall into that. This is the guy of the future.
All right, so let's look at some of the data, what it says. It says here the Lions have gone under in 7 straight. But listen to these. If you bet BC in the under for every possible selection. So your first half, second half game. All right. In the last 5, right, there were 15 of those. You'd be 11-4 if you bet on BC and the under. They are 11-4, 4-1 in the first half, 3-2 for the second half, 4-1 for the game. That's with the under. And yet Toronto's coming in having scored 30 straight at home and 3 straight and 23 or more in 8 of 8. Bottom line is, if you like Toronto, you got to think that this game could go over too, right?
Well, and I got to ask you, what does your data say about Toronto's home record for the last season?
When we look at Toronto home record for the last season, where did I put Sundays? Oh, Monday. It's Monday. I keep forgetting it's Monday.
So I'll let the data talk, but it feels
so
like
excited.
Toronto at home is pretty dangerous.
Okay, in the first half, they've scored 13 or more in 5 straight. They have scored 33, or that number that I gave you was at home. It was 3 straight 30s, but they're 5-1 against the spread. But 40. This is the last 8 at overall: 23, 28, 24, 33, 34, 24, 32, 43. Bet at home: 34, 33, 32. You don't need to take a math test to know what the median is for a set of numbers that's 32, 33, and 34. They're averaging 33 points a game.
And you got to wonder last week if Winnipeg even put up 20, would BC have had the opportunity to hang the points that they did?
Yeah, but 30-20 here is 50. 50 is more than 46.5. You heard that here first. 50 is more than 46.5. So we will see. But as you know, so much happens in the first half that impacts not only the live action, but the second half action. So, the bottom line is I know we're not going 3-1 this week. I know that. That's not going to happen, okay? We can't possibly do it 4 weeks in a row. But maybe this would be the week that we get that 0 up there for the first time.
Well, we can't go 75%. We have to go either 66 or 100
That's
with
it.
3 games on the board.
Yeah,
and
no doubt about it.
and this is East versus West. These are all West Coast.
Correct.
teams.
Only because of the
teams
head-to-head
going in.
matchup. There were only 2 each, and there was really nothing on there that jumped out at me.
Yep.
But boy, when you get that head-to-head data is so valuable, especially when you see, it was 150-30 in the last 4 games. I mean, come on, they got your number. It doesn't take a genius. Lay the points. All right, buddy. Anything else?
No, I think we're good. We're on 2 dogs this week, so we love the points at this point.
All right. Have a safe and wonderful 4th of July weekend to you and your family.
And a wonderful Canada
as
Day,
always,
hey?
Yeah, always be cashing.
Always be cashing.